Hello guys, welcome back to the second part of the data types and variable lesson. And in this lesson, we're going to have a look at the practical component that comes with the data types and then the variables. So in our previous lesson, we mentioned that we have four main basic data types. We said the first one being an integer. We also mentioned that the next one was a float. And we said we have a Boolean, and then also we have the last one being strings. So in this particular one, we're going to have the demonstration on these four, and then more variables are. Again, my name is George Boateng Banfo. So as we saw in the previous lesson, we said that um, the first one, which is an integer. So let's assume randomly, we just want to say, I used age, so I'll use age. I'll explain what this is in a few minutes because we already saw that we saw variables. So we said variable is just a placeholder. So when I say age here, it's basically saying that I'm creating a container called age, giving it a label. So it's a container, and I gave it a label called age, and I'm going to put in a value. So let's say I'm going to put in 12. So technically, this is what I'm going to do, put in 12. So equal to is more like saying I'm putting in 12. So, and that's it. Now, our main focus for this particular lesson is, well, you could see that I'm using the Jupyter notebook that I asked you to download, and then I sent the link in the, I sent you the instruction guide in or on the Daja platform under the first lesson. So if you still haven't downloaded it, this is a chance for you to download it. Otherwise, send me a message and I'll guide you on how to download it. All right, so I write it here. I went to run and I came here. Now, if I want to know the data type of this particular variable, so I'll just say, what's the data type for this variable? I'll just type, and then I'll put that in a bracket, and I'll put the variable in there, the name of the variable in there. That's just saying I want the type. Then outside that, I'll say print. So print is just a way for us to print something. So we could start with just printing something basic before we go on to that. We can just say print hello world. So the print statement is used to just display stuff. So when I run it, it's saying hello world. It's just saying go into what's inside the parentheses, and then you print it out or you display it. So I want to know the data type. So I'll just type. This is a special character or a special function in Python. It's called type. And then inside that, I'll put age, which is saying I want to know the type of this function, which is age. So the type of this particular variable, which is called age. So if I want to display it, I'll just wrap that inside the print statement again. So I'll say that, and then I'll close it also here, and I'll do this. When I run this, it should tell me that this particular um, data, which is the age, is supposed to be an integer. Yes, your guess is as good as mine. So when you print it, you could say it's saying int here, which is just telling you that this particular data type is an integer. So again, in Python, you don't necessarily have to declare the type of variable. Once you assign or you give the value of the variable, Python will go inside and check which of the data types that you use, because it's able to tell that for categories, we have integers, we have floats, we have Boolean, and then we have strings. So in this case, you realize there was a whole number, so that will qualify to be an integer, and that is why when we look for the type, it said int. Now the next one is, say, your name. That's a string, so we put that in speech marks, and I'll say George again, as I mentioned the last time, in the previous lesson. So the same idea, we write type, we put the name inside that, and then around that, we just say print, and then we put that inside this particular thing. So that's how you do it. Once we run it, it's saying str. Str is just the short form for writing string. It is a string because it's just random. It's just characters that have been put in the speech mark. The next one, which we also saw, was say Boolean. So let's say a student. If I say a student, well, it's just a condition. So, and I say true, could see that this turns green just because it's a special character. So it's either true or false. When I run it, and again, I'm going to do print and then type, and inside that, I'm going to put the name of my variable, which is a string, a student. So when I do that and I run it, it should tell me it's a Boolean. Why? Because the value that I placed in there was true. If I decide to create another one and say is programmer, and then I set that to false, and I ran it. So you could see that this particular one, this is the special type of data type, because even though we have characters that made up the word true or false, we didn't put that in speech mark because true or false has been reserved for Boolean. So if I run this and then I go in again, I do my print statement, I put in the type, I want to know the type of is programmer. So programmer. Again, the spelling should be the same as what you have for your data type. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. It's also saying it's Boolean. So we've looked at the integer, we've looked at the string, we've looked at Boolean. The last one we would want to look at is float, which is similar. So we'll say maybe height equal to, and maybe 23.4. So when I run this, and then I want to check whether what the data type of height is, I'll just say type, and then I'll say height. When I do this and I run it, it's telling me it's a float. So we've seen the four main data types. Again, we've seen integer, we've seen strings, we've seen the next one being Boolean, and the last one being of type float. We've also seen what data type, so what variables are. We saw that when we're creating a variable, we just had to give it a name, and then we said we give it a value by assigning a value into it. We'll see more of this particular, the assigning, how to put values in a particular data type in our next lesson, because that's the lesson that has this particular topic. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to do the assessment. Don't forget to practice it. These are the basic and foundational knowledge that you need to be able to get your programming skills. I bet you're going to love this. Don't stop programming. Don't stop coding. If you have any questions, just drop that to me on the Daja platform. And your assessment, as I mentioned earlier on, is very, very important and counts towards the final award. Make sure you do that on a timely basis. Just check it. If you have any issue with the assessments or any question, any clarification, just send that to me on the Daja platform. I bet you I'll respond to you before you know it. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.